My name is Fernando Reimers, and I'm a professor of comparative and international education at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. What's the best way to learn education policy analysis? My answer is simple: by doing it, working on real problems with real decision makers in real time. In the course on education policy analysis in comparative perspective that I teach, I developed an approach which I think of as a policy analysis studio. It's a structured, field-based learning experience where students don't just study frameworks, but they actually practice them. Students consult for a client, very often a government leader, either at a municipal, state, or national level, or a leader of an organization that is working in partnership with government, solving problems of interest to them. From the first weeks, they defined an urgent education challenge in that specific jurisdiction, and then they learned to turn that challenge into a rigorous, evidence-informed policy decision working in partnership with people in that jurisdiction. Over the last years, students have worked on topics such as how to scale successfully programs to support social emotional development of children, how to implement reading recovery programs in countries after the COVID pandemic, how to develop curriculum to teach about climate change, and a whole range of issues. So the course works as a flipped classroom model. Students watch pre-recorded lectures asynchronously, and they engage in conversations with AI using prompts that I engineer for them. Those prompts engage them in simulations. For example, in this example, I ask the students to tell the AI to work as a Socratic tutor, assuming the role of a minister of education at the outset of an education reform. They upload into the AI a case study of that reform, as well as a couple of frameworks that they need to learn to think about how to design reforms for implementation. And then they engage with AI in a conversation. And then at the end of the conversation, the AI gives them feedback on their use of the frameworks. And so basically, they learn in that class. In addition, so with that preparation, they come to class where we have discussions, conversations about the exercises they have done, about the projects they're working on. I also invite people who are leaders of practice in the field of education policy to engage them in conversation. The most important piece of the course, in my view, is this work that they do in small groups that often are very diverse. These are students from different countries and professional backgrounds. And so they basically learn to collaborate, listening, coordinating, taking perspectives of their clients, and learning how to disagree. The course, they learn several tools and frameworks for policy analysis, and they access comparative education research in order to help them learn how to draw on comparative evidence to understand the root cause of a problem, to identify alternatives to address it, and then to think through criteria to evaluate those options. And then they engage in an analysis of those various options and examine trade-offs and finally make a recommendation to their client. I ask the students to the work that they do is cumulative and practical. They write 3 papers throughout the course, which they have to present to the client as well as to the teaching team. And they basically go from defining the problem and analyzing the root causes using evidence, identifying alternatives, and drawing on comparative evidence to generate those alternatives and to think about the criteria to evaluate them. And then they produce a full policy analysis with a recommendation and with attention to implementation and evaluation. We use Chatham House rules in the House to have discussions so that they can speak freely about the problems they're working on, and also with the guest speakers that we bring in. At the end of when we finish the course, I tell the students that the best papers are going to be presented at a conference, and then they have the option of turning those base papers into chapters for volumes that I edit. All of this happens after the course is finished and grades have been turned in. So that's a way to close the loop between learning and contribution. So these are some of the presentations from this year. And sometimes I invite colleagues who work in the field of international development to serve as discussant. And these are the cover of the books, of some of the books we've done in the last few years. Students have tackled questions like how to sustain educational opportunity during COVID, how to recover after the pandemic, how to address climate change, how to expand opportunity in highly unequal societies. In the course evaluations, the students describe the course as transformative, as helping them learn not just textbook knowledge, but how to ride the bicycle. Last fall, the last evaluation, they rated the course 4.8 out of 5 for stimulating new ways of thinking, for the intellectual challenge, and most importantly, for helping them apply learning to real problems. So my goal in this course is to help students leave the course with the skills to produce decision-ready analysis, and also with the confidence and the humility and the comparative perspective to help improve education systems, understanding their complexity.